Oh, I don't know. Hello and welcome to the podcast, or welcome back to the podcast. I'm calling it the podcast because the podcast is relaunching and I don't know what the name of the podcast is going to be. But basically, it's been a few months now since the podcast. The podcast. It's been a few months now since the podcast has been kind of going on, because of a lot of things to do with competing and just life. But I'm really, really excited to bring it back. So there's going to be loads of stuff going on. I've got Beth today, who is one of my clients and friends, and she's a coach as well. So I'll let you do an intro in a sec. But yeah, it's going to be clients. There's a few people from within like the fitness industry that we're going to be bringing on. Some people within bodybuilding. So yeah, I'm really excited, really, just to have a good chat and bring people on to talk about all things fitness and life. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting things planned. So today we're going to just kick off and have a chat to Beth and talk about like just life really, and your journey within sort of fitness and coaching and what you've been through, because I feel like you've got some really good stuff to talk through and to kind of give your view and insight on. So I'm excited about this, and we've just had a good chat before we've come on the podcast about some bits and bobs, so we can run through some of that as well. So anyway, I'm rambling on. Do you want to give like a bit of a intro from your end in terms of who you are? Obviously I know, but for everyone else, who you are, what you do.
Yes.
Off you go.
So thank you. Yes, so I am Beth. I am one of Leah's clients. So I pretty much have done full circle, haven't I really, Leah? So I joined Leah as an online client way back. It's probably like, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago.
Let's give people an insight into how we met.
Okay. So Leah and I met on a boozy Thailand trip back in, it was 6 years ago, wasn't it? So
Yeah.
2016.
Yeah, because I think I was in my second year at uni. I just finished my second year of uni, so I would have been like
Yeah.
19, 20 maybe.
Yeah. So you were traveling with your best friend. I was traveling with my best friend, and we were in like a bit of a group, and we just all got on, didn't we? There was a big group of us girls and we all just all got on really well. And yeah, we all kept in touch, didn't we? And then kind of went back home, and kept in touch with each other over socials. And then my friend that I was there with, Danielle, signed on as an online client with you. And at the time, I wasn't really into fitness or into any sport or anything. And I really wanted to get into the gym, but I was always terrified of having like a face-to-face PT in case they pushed me or made me do something I didn't want to do. So the idea of coming on board as like an online client, however many miles away we were, I thought to myself, I'm safe. Like
I can't attack you in the gym.
yeah. So yeah, I got started with you. I think it was like the February of, oh gosh, it was probably a year or two after we originally met. So it was like February 2019, I think. No, oh gosh, I don't even know now.
A
But
few
it was
years
age,
ago.
yeah, it was a few years ago. Started, I think I was with you for a couple of months. We did like a bit of a fat loss phase first, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
And then we went into, because I mean, ideally, I wanted to build muscle in my legs and glutes specifically. So went into like a bit of a building phase, which I think we're going to talk more about in a
Yeah.
bit anyway.
Yeah.
Um, and then I kind of just fell in love with the whole process. And I was working in retail at the time, and yeah, fell in love with like learning about my body and about nutrition and training. And I was like, so I don't know, to say like you changed my life is like obviously a massive statement, but it's true, like you did. So I was like, I need to be this person for other people as well. And I just was really passionate about making that a reality. So I kind of dragged my feet a little bit. And then just before COVID all kicked off, I bit the bullet and did my PT course and then qualified. And then, yeah, here I am now. So personal trainer and online coach. Still working for the family business as well. So just juggling bits and bobs with that. But yeah, I come back on board with you, I think it was just after the first lockdown, like nearing on Christmas of 2020, I think.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think for a while I'd kind of been like, right, okay, I'm gonna focus on getting my PT qualification, see where I go with it. Realized I wasn't really prioritizing myself, and that's when I reached back out to you, and I was like, look, I really need a hand kind of like being accountable and stuff, taking the workload off me so I could focus on my own clients. And yeah, we set out to build some muscle,
which I feel like we did a very good, well, you did a very good job of. Like, if you go and have a little stalk on Beth's Instagram, do you want to just say Instagram now, actually, before
yeah, it's Beth May Fitness, very very standard fitness,
very easy to remember. So yeah, go and have a look, because I think it was when, you know, we did that shoot with Ben, and you put, I think it was the back photo on that, and we put it next to the first photo, and it was like jaw-droppingly good.
Yeah, it's quite mad actually, isn't it, to see, because obviously you're with yourself all the time, aren't you, so you don't necessarily see the changes. But yeah, it's been a journey. I mean, it's not all physical, is it? Like, a lot of it, especially with building muscle, I think comes down to like the mental aspect of that challenge. So yeah, there's been a lot of growth there, mentally, physically, from a business perspective as well, which I've been very fortunate to have you to speak to about as well on many occasions. So yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? But it's been really exciting.
Yeah, and what I want to talk through as well is, obviously, so the first time kind of we worked together, you knew you wanted to build muscle, right? But I think, and we were just talking about this like before we actually started recording, it was kind of like a little bit of a brick wall in terms of being able to actually push to, you know, keep the consistency up. And then we got to a point, and again, we were just saying this before, where it was like a switch was flicked and you were like, yes, okay, right, I really need to like commit to this. And it was then the second time round when you got to that point where things like really, really started to change, and, you know, everything just came on so much. So I want to talk about that, because I feel like as a female, it's still something that, you know, you'll know this from like the girls in the group and stuff, like, so it can be so hard, you know, to actually go through with that and to commit to a period of time, like building up your calories, getting stronger. So I think it will be really useful to kind of talk through that and delve into that side of, you know, the whole process a little bit more, because I feel like shedding a little bit of light into like how it feels mentally, like physically, will be really useful for other people. And also just, you know, some of the things we talk about, like we were just saying before the podcast, like some of the terms we use and things like that, I feel like things like that will be so helpful, and like, you know, everyone struggles with things like that. So I just want to dive into that a bit more, really.
Yeah, for sure. And like I say, when I was originally, when I first signed up with you and we ran that fat loss phase, like I was so shocked at how quickly my body did completely, it felt like my composition just changed completely. And obviously I was fairly new to training, like I'd done bits and bobs, but I never stuck to like a training program. I was never that consistent. I hadn't ever tracked my calories before, or like I just completely changed my training, completely changed what I was eating, and my body did just like adapt so quickly. And then we discussed obviously the fact that I did want to build muscle, so I didn't really know what to expect from that point of view. And I think because I'd had that initial fat loss phase and it seemed to happen so quickly, and it's that instant gratification, isn't it? It's like the weight loss on the scales and seeing like my abs in the mirror, and I was like, wow, like I've never seen myself in this light before. And it was like a real, like you say, that gratification was almost instant. And then going into like trying to build my calories up, I was kind of expecting as quick a result as I did with the deficit. And obviously we said this when I saw you the other week about how, and I forgot that I was kind of battling against little niggles, wasn't I? I had like a bit of an issue with my shoulder, and then my knee was always playing up, and I'd never even had it like looked at properly. And I think I was trying, and I was like obviously trying to eat more and train harder and that sort of thing. And I just felt like I was hitting that brick wall. And it was a combination of me potentially not investing in myself more in terms of getting my injuries looked at, so that I could either, like, I mean, we tried to work around them, didn't we? Like,
yeah, we did.
I was like, Leah, this isn't working. What can we do next? But I didn't actually ever go to the source of the issue and be like, right, okay, I need to get this sorted. So it was a combination of that and a combination of my mindset at the time. And then I think I just said to you, I was like, look, I'm not really in the right headspace for it. I'm going to go away, kind of see how I get on with things. And then, yeah, when I approached you, I think it was probably like a year and a half later, I want to say, or maybe even longer, I can't remember. But I was like, look, I know now that, I think because I'd done the PT course myself, I kind of had a bit more of a realistic expectation as to how it did take a little bit longer to build muscle and the sort of things I had to do in order to do that. But I just felt like I couldn't have done it myself. And I think we just went straight into like a bit of a small gain, didn't we? Like a small surplus. So I did that for a little while. And I did kind of find, even though I told myself like, look, this time's going to be different, I did kind of find like I was hitting that same brick wall. And I remember quite clearly, I was looking at myself in the mirror in each check-in, and I was like, I wasn't too fussed about the scales. The scales have never bothered me because I've always been quite tall. So to me, they are just a number. But I remember saying to you in one of my check-ins, like, I think it was to do with my measurements. And I was like, I'm just a bit disappointed that it's not going up, like around my glutes. Like, and I think you said to me, like, if you're being honest with yourself, do you feel like you're putting all your energy and effort into the right place in order to gain that muscle? And I was like, no. I think I was literally like,
honest.
No. Yeah. And I was like, and that was honestly like in a really good way, like just a real wake up call, like in a real, like, come on, Beth, like, what are you doing? And you didn't say it like that at all, but I was just like, no, I can do so much better than this. And that was kind of the catalyst for my mindset shift. And we kind of spoke about ways in which to like overcome that. And I think it was really kind of being like quite objective about my progress pictures and my measurements, and actually being like, right, okay, the goal is muscle gain. So what can I do each day, each week to make sure that I'm getting there? So I stopped looking at my progress markers from an aesthetic point of view, and I shifted over and I was like, right, okay, how can I get my numbers up in the gym? How can I make sure I'm hitting my protein? How can I make sure I'm getting enough calories in? And that was it, wasn't it? And then it was like,
because the thing is once you actually started being consistent with everything, like, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, but like once you started eating enough calories consistently, like I remember when we would kind of go through food and like reflect on it a bit, and there were some days that were great, and then there were some days that were like ridiculously low, and it was sort of that, you know, that mix of like, yes, the consistency was there for like maybe 2 days and then it would drop, and that was, you know, I think maybe why the results were like stalling. But I think you just had this, I just remember so clearly, you had this turning point and everything was just like done, and I was like, oh,
and where's Beth gone? What have you done with her?
Yeah, but like everything was just not perfect, but like you were consistently training, like you were consistently eating your food, and things just started to like snowball, didn't they?
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing is like, it's hard, and I can't remember if I've spoken to you too much about this, but in like society, I suppose, like the focus is trying to be smaller, isn't it? It's like trying to be the leanest you can be, or I don't know, like it's just, it always seems to be that everyone's trying to make you smaller than what you are. And I did find it hard at times, kind of going against the grain, and it did feel like I was going against the grain a little bit. And like I would speak to, I remember I was doing some classes at the time.
This.
Yeah. And I was just like talking to people, and they were like, well, so how much do you eat then? And obviously, bearing in mind, I am a lot taller than some people. So I was like, oh, I'm eating upwards of like 3,000 calories. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I know. I was like, but obviously I'm training like, and I'm doing this. And
you were teaching a lot of classes as well.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I'm doing steps, but I wasn't really doing my steps, was I? So I was like, yeah, like this is what I'm doing, and I've gained this much. And I was really proud of how much weight I'd gained as well. And I was like, yeah, I've gained like a stone, I'm like going up, and I feel great. And they're like, oh, and one lady literally said to me, she's like, you're not going to gain too much more though, are you? And I was like, what? Sorry, who are you? And I was like, well, yeah, I'm gonna like, I feel good at the minute, I'm just going to keep pushing. And I think that's a common, I don't want to say like thought process, because I could be speaking out of turn, but it was just like, I would get comments sometimes, and it's like, oh, well, how much more do you want to put on, or why are you doing that? Like, a lot of people don't understand, do they? Because it's just so against what you go to the gym to do, right? Is like, you're not losing weight. So that was interesting. But I ended up being the most confident that I have ever been when I was at my
and you got the results for it as well. Like when you did later down the line, obviously pursue more of a fat loss goal, I mean, and I know like there's no reason you have to do this, like you don't necessarily need to diet down at all, but there was such a difference from a perspective. When you did do that, there was such a huge difference. And I really like what you said then about, you know, and I think this is where a lot of people struggle as well. It's like, look at what you are actually doing, because I think so many people get, and this is regardless of any goal, like so many people get so caught up in the result, and they're like, why aren't I getting the result? Like my result isn't good, but, or like, why am I not there yet? You know? And it's like, so, because if you think about it in like society, like everything is so instant. Like you buy something on Amazon Prime, it's here the next day. Like you post it on social media, you get likes straight away. You know, and it's
you
like,
don't get that instant.
And it's like, it's really hard to put the work in and not get the results straight away. And it's like,
I think that's what makes it so much more rewarding when you, and I like, obviously just touching on what you said, like the end result really is never actually the end result, is it? Especially if you're striving for like for more, like it can go one of two ways. It can be like, oh, nothing's ever going to be enough, or you could be like, do you know what, like, yeah, I'm really happy with how I look at the minute, but I'm really happy with how I feel at the minute, but yeah, I do want to push myself more, and that's okay to want that as well.
I think having that whole thing of like it being an ongoing thing of self-development versus like, oh, I'm doing this and I'm not getting the results, so why am I bothering? It's like, well, what if it's just an ongoing thing of just improving a little bit? And you know what you said about kind of focusing on what you're doing versus the result, because I think that's so true. You know what you said when we had that conversation, and you were actually, no, I'm not giving it, you know, I could be doing a bit more. It's like, if I bet if people, a lot of people just took a step back and were like really honest and were like, okay, yes, I'm not happy with, you know, the progress I'm getting, I'm not making the progress I want. If they actually looked at what they were doing, you know, are you doing everything that you could be doing? Because that is ultimately what is getting you your results. So if you can focus on the actual process, so cliche, isn't it? But it's like, focus on the journey rather than the destination. But
it's true though.
But it is true, isn't it? It's like, if you focus on like what you're actually doing, like the more consistent you get at those little things, that will take you to your, I don't like calling it a destination, because it's like what we said, it's like an ongoing thing, but that will get you towards where you want to go forward to.
No, I agree. I do agree. And it can be tough, and like not everyone is always going to agree, and that can kind of put doubts in your head as well for like, well, and I think that was something that I probably struggled with a little bit as well, is kind of like worrying what my partner might think
Yeah.
initially of me
How do you feel
putting
like you
weight on.
overcame that with like, because I think that's a really good point. I think I get like that comes up a lot. So like with
Yeah,
what people said at work, or you know, your partner, or like people get it with like the parents a lot, or the friends. They're like,
yeah,
well, why are you doing that? And it's like people want to fit in as such. So
yeah,
how do you feel like you overcame kind of like negative comments? Or like a lot of people say, oh, why are you being so obsessive?
yeah.
You know?
um yeah, no, I do understand that. I think bearing in mind that the reason that you're doing this, and if it is the true reason that you're doing it, is for yourself and because you want to, whether it be like you say, gain muscle, lose weight, or get faster at a certain exercise or whatever, like you've got to want to do that thing for you and you only. And I think I was actually talking to, you know, Tiff, your other
Yeah.
client. Yeah. So I was
Yeah.
talking to her at
When we're at the
the
Christmas
Christmas
party.
yeah, at the
Like
Christmas
I was
party.
like pissing about, and I was like getting like
And
little
me
bits
and Tiff were
of
just
this
like,
in-depth, intense conversation. And I think me and
yeah,
Dave were like walking around with like shawls on our head or something.
yeah. Yeah, no, do you know what? That was so funny because I literally remember just being like so in the zone with Tiff, and you two are just like cracking up laughing. But no, it was, we had a really good conversation. And to be honest, a lot of it was based around food. And it does link to other people's comments on what you're eating, because I did get that a lot as well, especially when I was trying to put weight on and trying to gain muscle. A lot of people like would be like, are you eating again? Like, are you still hungry? And it almost feels as though people think you're being greedy. And it's like, I'm not being greedy. Like I've got the appetite to eat because I'm training really hard. And B, like I've almost gotten used to this amount of food as well, because we built it up so slowly, didn't we? So I was hungry. Like I wasn't being greedy. I was still trying to, listen to, like I'm very big on trying to listen to my body's cues as well, in terms of like hunger and fullness and stuff. So like part of that was a battle. I feel like I'm going off on so many tangents, but
Okay, go
going
on.
back to going back to the conversation with Tiff, I said to her, I was like, I have had people comment on how much I eat before, and it does at times bother me. And she made a really good point. And it's obviously not always the case, but sometimes when someone does say something on like about what you're doing, or about you as a person, it's not always necessarily to do with you. And it could be the fact that they're feeling a certain way about themselves, and it's not always malicious, it really isn't, but sometimes it kind of comes up and it kind of comes out, and it's a bit like word vomit. Like you might have thought something in your head and it's just come out, and you've not even meant it in the way that it's kind of come out. So when I would have comments about what I was eating, or the fact that I was looking heavier or whatever, I would just take it with a pinch of salt. And it's not always easy to do that. But yeah, I was like, I'm doing this because I've set myself the challenge and I really want to push myself with it. And it doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks. And I had the support of my partner, like I had the support of my family, even though they didn't necessarily always understand what I was doing and why I was doing it. Like I have had that supportive environment as well. And I think that's so important.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think like within coaching as well, like even you were saying like you were speaking to Tiff, and I know like there was other girls, for example, like Emma, who was at the shoot, that was going through, you know, some stuff, and I know she
Yeah.
was able to then like speak to some of the other girls about her personal
Yeah.
life. And I think that's, if you've got someone that you can just chat. And I think as well, you'll know this from working with clients, like sometimes that's the best part of coaching. It's like not, you know, here's your calories, like this is what you need to eat. It's like actually unpicking and like getting to know someone as a person. Like
Yeah.
it's I love that part of it. Like, you know, when
Yeah.
you like get on a call with a client and you just chatting to them.
Yeah.
Or like I've had other girls like on the podcast before, and I just think, oh, that's like the best bit, you know, like being able to actually get to know someone properly and like unpick these little things. And sometimes I think that can be like, in my opinion, that's one of the best things about having a coach, is that you can just chat to them about how you're feeling and like talk things through in like
and
biased
it doesn't
way.
always have to be like about coaching either. Like, I am a very open book when it comes to a lot of things. Obviously some things are like private until I deem otherwise, but I am a very open book, and I always encourage other people where they feel comfortable to be able to be open as well. Like, and I think it does massively help having like a good support network and a good community. And like, I mean, a lot of people that I speak to now are other coaches, because it helps having someone in a similar position going through similar things when you do feel like sometimes it's just you going through it. So yeah, it's nice. It's really nice having like people understand and give you support if they don't necessarily understand. But yeah, it's been a journey. It has been a journey.
It has. So obviously you're kind of well like into the building side of things now. I'm just inspecting my notes to see if there's anything else that I wanted to ask you about.
Not sure.
Mindset around building. So you know what I do actually want to touch on, like with the self-development side of things, just kind of briefly, because I feel like obviously I think you'll be okay talking about this. Obviously you've been like working on like the mindset side of things quite a lot.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be good to just like delve into just the life stuff a little bit and talk through, you know, what you feel okay to talk through from that aspect.
Yeah, from like mindset and confidence wise.
Yeah, just in terms of like yourself, because I feel like we've had a lot of conversations where you've kind of really like doubted yourself.
Yeah, I think like one of my biggest flaws was not having the confidence in my ability in order to do something. And I spoke to someone else about this on the Christmas do as well. In terms of
conversations,
I had so many deep and meaningful conversations. But I was talking about, I think it was with Tanya.
Oh
yeah. We were saying about how it's such an addictive thing when you actually start investing in yourself, whether that be from a time point of view, energy, like effort, whatever that might be, but investing into yourself in order to like develop further. So like that self-development and how that affects your mindset and stuff. And I've really been thinking about it loads, like, because that shoot that we did with Ben in August, I came away from that and I had never felt that good. And it was a combination of the hard work that I put in, the combination of like kind of obviously seeing you around like your clients and interacting, and that being like inspo for me, like in my business. And then obviously working with Ben, who I obviously hadn't met before, but I'd seen a lot of his work and stuff. And yeah, I just came away from it feeling so good. Like, and I was like, yeah, like this is what I want to do with my life. Like, I really want to help other women feel like this as well, and put themselves first and prioritize themselves and level up. And I just felt so passionate about it. And I think because I was on such a high, and I'd been obviously building up for so long, and then we did like my 12-week fat loss phase, and then I was like, I came back to reality and I was like,
yeah, I remember that.
Like, and it was almost like, it was so strange because I was riding that high for a little bit and then I just came crashing down. And I actually had a call with Ben to book in for some content, and what was supposed to be a 15-minute phone call ended up being like an hour of me crying. And yeah, I spoke to him about obviously the fact that I see myself and I want to get to these points, but I just didn't have the confidence in my ability to get there, and I didn't really have any direction in order to do that. And even though I'd kind of worked on my self-belief and I'd proven that I could build my calories up and build a decent amount of muscle and then go into a diet phase, and I was really proud of myself for doing that, and prioritizing myself and my mental health as well. Like I'd spent all that time of like building up on like just that whole self-development, and then I did the shoot, felt amazing, loved the photos, like couldn't have faulted it whatsoever. But I think I just came back and realized that I still had so much more work to do. And yeah, I've been having like conversations with Ben. I've spoken to you about it. I've spoken to like my partner, and just trying to come up with ways in how I can continue my self-development and continue on with that. And I think after the shoot we had like a bit of a reset phase, didn't we, of like my training, just to kind of bring me back to baseline a bit and allow me to focus on my business a little bit more, because that's what brings me a lot of purpose. And yeah, it's been interesting, but it's exciting. Like I always feel like, and I say this when I get like new clients on board, it's like if something feels scary but you also like can't stop smiling about it, like you know that it's good, like you know that it can only be good, and it's like we don't want to shy away from those opportunities, because that's how we can grow. So yeah, it's scary, and I feel like I've got so much more work that I could be doing, but like we said, the journey, like the destination is never there, but I'm still so proud of like how far I've come as well. Getting emotional, but yeah. But yeah, no, and it's hard, because I mean you probably see the same, like you see whether that be, I don't know, people that speak to you on social media, or like family or friends who aren't quite there yet in terms of realizing that they need to just prioritize themselves, whatever that looks like. And it makes me sad. Like it does make me sad that a lot of, I mean, you work with women, I work with women, and it's like I have such a passion for them realizing that they are important.
It's such a nice thing to see though, isn't it, when people are like actually start acting on it as well. And
it's just like they see that potential unlocking themselves, and it's like, oh, I don't know, I just love it. And that's what exactly the shoot was about.
That's what I like. Honestly, I was the same. Like I come back from the shoots, like both of them, obviously you've been at both the last two shoots, the one we did in December and August, and it's like it's just such a buzz, because it's like everyone is so like happy, everyone's chatting, and it's like, oh my god, like this is amazing.
It was. I was, when the shoot with Ben in August, I think it was Katie, she saw her pictures and she started crying, didn't she?
That was just,
and I was stood there and I was like,
don't cry.
Honestly, I couldn't. I had to walk away. I was like, right, sort yourself out. She's not even your client. And I didn't even know her. I didn't even know her. And I was like, it's so, I don't know, so addictive. I love it.
No, I completely get what you mean. Amazing. Yeah, I feel like that has been very, very helpful. And I feel like we could probably chat all day. But I don't know how long we've been talking for. But yeah, that was really helpful. And I think hopefully will just put a lot of people at ease as well. Because I think, like I said, a lot of women go through the same sort of like doubts about things and question certain things. And I think it's really common, a lot of things that you've spoke about as well. So I'm excited. That's the first episode. I think I'm going to call this season 2.
I was waiting for a punchier name. I'm not gonna lie. We can work on it.
Podcast. I mean, I'm gonna be like, it's new. It's a new. It's new, consistent.
Podcast. Well, what are you calling it? Is it called the Undivided Podcast?
I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I need to get my thinking hat on over Christmas and stuff.
It's going to be good regardless of
but basically I just want it to be like a load of chat, like funny, insightful, helpful, like relatable, just to try and put as much helpful, entertaining stuff out as possible. So this has been good, so thank you so much. Is there anything that you want to share, or any final last words? Not last words,
I was going to say, putting me on the spot there, Leah. Have I got something to share?
No, I know what we'll share. Share your new favourite quote.
Oh.
Well, it's not really a quote, but it's a saying.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, paralysis by analysis. So basically, you want to start somewhere, you have got all these ideas, you are like, right, okay, I really want to get myself sorted. It's the new year, but you just feel so overwhelmed with it. And it's like, right, okay, strip it back. I'm currently so overwhelmed because of all these ideas that I've got. So I'm like paralyzed by the analysis of things. So scale it back, focus on one thing, the most important thing, what's your priority, and just nailing those little boxes, little steps each day, in order to get yourself there. And then you can analyze again and just
don't paralyze.
Yeah, don't paralyze. I feel like I could have.
I feel like we're going to change the paralysis by analysis into sorry, my brain has gone so I don't know what
I was like, where's this going?
I don't know. Anyway,
is that what the podcast is going to be called?
Oh no, I can't call the podcast that.
No.
But anyway,
thank you for having me on.
No problem. It's been brilliant.
I love it.
Fab. So just say your Instagram username again.
Beth May Fitness on Instagram.
Beth May Fitness. Yeah. So go and follow Beth. Right, yeah. So that wraps up the first episode. These are going to be, I'm on it. New year, new podcast.
Yeah, she's on it. And maybe I can be your accountability podcast person.
Maybe you can. That would be a great idea. So yeah, brill.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for listening, guys, and I will be back soon.